All right, let's go over Mythic Vectis. Today I'll be commenting on my 99 on this fight. This took place on November 7th. It was a top 50 ranked parse out of all parses, and in today's parse it would be a 96. There's one thing to note: there's only about 5,000 parses on this fight. That's because a lot of warlocks on this fight do tend to go destruction for that extra add damage, but affliction also can be really good for that extra boss damage as well, especially if you want to minimize the amount of intermissions your team is going into. So if we were looked at the top ranks for this fight, I can try to see if I can search my name. There I am. Currently I'm still ranked 79 on this fight. As far as Azerite traits go, I highly recommend going sudden onset. If you look at the top ranks for this fight, a lot of them do have at least one sudden onset. The reason for this is because you will constantly be reapplying your agonies on the adds as they spawn. So you're going to get a lot of value out of this trait. If you have to sacrifice 10 eye levels to get one sudden onset, I would do that, and that's what I actually did in this fight. So I would say you have at least one sudden onset, then your archives, and then you can't really go wrong with whatever else you choose. In this particular instance, I went archive, sudden onset, and racking brilliance. As for talents, you just want to go your standard single target. The only change I made here from the most standard build would be in my utility. I decided to go with Mortal Coil instead of Demonic Circle. Then that's just simply because I never used Demonic Circle in that fight, and Mortal Coil can help give me some extra healing to help my healers out if need be, or if things get a little bit chaotic, which sometimes they might do in this fight. For trinkets, just use your highest simming eye level trinkets, and then as far as your stat lines go, Haste Mastery is going to be best. It's really close as to say which one is better, whether it be Haste or Mastery in this fight, so you can't go wrong with either. Alright, so let's open this log up. Here's the fight, and here's how I did as far as damage goes on here. You notice the warrior is going to be on top. Warriors, I think, are best for this fight. The warlocks are still really good. We decided to use Lust on Pool. I think that's fairly obvious in this fight. Lusting on Pool is probably the best. There doesn't make sense to use it later. You should just use it when everybody has their cooldowns up. There's minimal movement. Everybody's good and ready to go. The only decision you might make is if you wanted to save the Lust for maybe like 8 seconds into the pool for when the ad spawns, but it's probably insignificant because you're going to have Lust up through that ad anyway. Alright, so let's get right into it. So with the strategy I'll be using, this will be maximizing my boss damage, and it will be limiting my add damage. So there's pros and cons with this. If your team needs add damage, you should not be using this strategy. You should be putting more damage on the add. However, you will be limiting your overall damage, and in that case, if you really truly need add damage, I feel like you should be playing destruction anyway. But affliction is good for when your team has the add damage down and you want to do more boss damage to minimize your intermissions. Alright. Forgive me, this video is going to be a little bit choppy. I think there was a problem when I was streaming it, so there will be lag in this video. So here we go. I'm doing the standard opener. I get 4 unstable afflictions up, which is pretty nice. And one thing I want to mention here is with this opener, I am using my Phantom Singularity after my unstable afflictions are stacked. In the most current recommended opener rotation has your Phantom Singularity before your DSM and unstable afflictions are cast. But in this particular fight, it would be much better to use your Phantom Singularity at the end of the rotation before you cast your Dark Lair, because This would ensure you get maximal AoE uptime on that Phantom Singularity, so you can be getting the AoE ticks from the Phantom Singularity while that ad is up. So when the ad pops, all you're going to do is do 3 dots on this ad. Agony, Corruption, Siphon Life, everything else is going to be on the boss. You're going to maintain only 1 stack of Unstable Affliction on the boss at all times. And the reason for that is because you want the maximum value out of all your dots, and you want to pool shards just a little bit for later, and you'll see why. So here we go, Agony, Corruption, Siphon Life, and that's it, right back to the boss. And you see I cast my Death Bolt off cooldown, and then just proceed with my normal opener. Luckily, I didn't get any Vector on me in the initial pool, and so I didn't have to move around that much. I also didn't get any Gestates casted on me, which is also very lucky. And it's going to minimize unnecessary movement. Now, the only difference with the ads, how you do the ads, is going to be with the last ad before Liquefy. This is going to be the 4th ad. So you don't want to cast any dots when the boss is about to liquefy, because obviously you won't get any value off of them. So you're going to shift your focus from the boss to the ad. So okay, this ad I just noticed did not have any dots on it at all. I don't know if that was intentional or what. I'm pretty sure I just missed it. That's not good. Wow. Had I put in just a couple dots on that ad, maybe I would have had an even better rank. That's crazy. But yeah, you generally want to be casting your 3 dots on all ads. Okay, so for this ad, this is when I shift my focus. Okay, so I put 3 dots on it and 1 UA, and then the rest are going to be Shadow Bolts and Haunt. Right, because I want to get maximum value. It looks like the Unstable Affliction did get maximum value. I'm ending into intermission with 2 shards. These shards are going to carry over into the next fight. You're not going to regain or lose any shards during your intermissions. That will be important later, and I'll show you why after the next intermission. So after this intermission, this is when your DSM comes off cooldown, and you're generally going to want to use DSM right off cooldown in this fight, because generally you'll only get 2 Dark Lair usages, and the fight will last just enough for you to get 3 DSMs and 2 Dark Lairs. If your group takes a very long time to kill this boss and you go into 3 intermissions or an extra intermission, then in that case you might want to use DSMs with your Dark Lair, and you may be able to squeeze out 3. But in most cases it's going to be 2 Dark Lairs, 3 DSMs, then the second DSM is going to be right after intermission. So I want to use this right away so I can get it up for my next Dark Lair. There it is. I do end up casting 2 Unstable Afflictions on the boss, and I think that was just to get a better Death Bolt off, but it's not necessary. Here again, 3 dots on the ad, continue with the boss. Alright, and this phase is going to play out exactly the same, and you're going to see this is going to be very repetitive. So just normal rotation here. Ad pops. Agony, Corruption, Siphon Life. The rest is going to be on the boss. And here I'm going to speed it up actually, and see if we can get to the next part. So same thing. Gestate's coming again. Try to use the Phantom Singularity if it's like off cooldown. Try to save it just a little bit for when the ad is about to spawn, just to ensure that it gets that AoE damage in there. I didn't have any problems with that, so I just used it right then and there. Again, only 3 dots on the ad, and you're good to go. So you'll see with this strategy, I will have a little bit extra Unstable Afflictions as I'm going into this phase. In this phase, I actually do want to pool shards a little bit. Boom. After I kill this ad, I have 4 shards. This is very important. I want 4 shards after this intermission, because I'm going to go right into Dark Lair right away. And It's important right after this intermission you want to go straight into Dark Lair, because you want to cast everything you need to on the boss, and right after your Dark Lair is over with, you can now focus on dotting up the ad and doing everything there. So here you'll see it. Alright, I already have 5 shards. I use my potion and I'm going off. Ad spawns, and now I focus my attention on the ad. When the boss has all the dots rolling, I'm not going to have to look at the boss. So now, boom, 3 dots, back to the boss, and keep going. Now, while my potion is up, I've stated this before, while the potion is up, it's okay to stack as many unstable afflictions as you can, because your unstable afflictions are your biggest damage dealer, and if you can cast them while the potion is up, it's going to deal the most damage. So it's okay if the boss has 2 stacks of unstable affliction, for example, during this time. So now our goal right here is to burn the boss down as fast as possible, so we don't go to an extra intermission. So here you can have 3 dots on the ad and continue on the boss. I think we're just focusing boss, so it's definitely not necessary. So here we just wanted to focus the boss down and kill it before it phases. Excuse the lag, and there we go, that's the kill. So this was a top 50 kill at the time, and that's basically how you do it. It's a pretty easy strategy. Again, it maximizes boss damage and overall damage. It's not gonna be good for ad damage. If you do want ad damage, I would advise you going Destruction. If you want boss damage, like if your team is barely going into another intermission, Affliction could help for that. And that's all for this video. Thank you guys, and feel free to leave any comments or any feedback below.